is like, and it's already kind of happened, but it's not at a big capacity, so it's fine. Is that when I start changing the hotkeys, and then like someone tells me like, "Oh, go look for this tool," and then I try to find it, but oh, we'll just press this button. It's the default hotkey, but I already changed and remapped that default hotkey. You know what I mean? So if I try to limit it, so that way I don't run into this problem too often. So although I'm sure you're right, I'll investigate, but it might be a second before I actually indulge in some other people's presets. For instance, like even with ZBrush, like it took me like at least a month or so before I felt comfortable trying to even switch up the UI, because their UI is really dangerous, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to get lost already.
Another question says, how to see and control edges in my paintings. I have problems with creating hard edges, and someone told me that's because of my Photoshop brush and that I'm light-handed.
That's a hard question to answer unless I can see your work, which unfortunately I probably won't be able to. But if I had to guess, um, it has everything to do, for sure, with your brush, but also has everything to do with how you paint. So if you paint with really feathery edges, then you'll have very feathery edges. If you paint with really hard edges, then you'll have really hard edges. Paint with airbrushy edges, and you have very airbrushy edges. And so basically, what I'm trying to get at is like you don't have any contrast in your edges, and because you have no contrast in your edges, you're running into this problem. You know, and that's how you want to control your edges. You want to have hard with soft and soft with hard, but the whole point of having the different edges, the way you do that, the way you get across that, is by actually having diversifying edges. If you don't diversify your edges, then you will run into this problem, where all your edges are either soft or all your edges are really hard. Does that make sense? So without looking at your work, that would be kind of my guess is happening, is that your edges are not in your control, and you need to control them. And you have to ask yourself, like are your edges helping you in basically, uh, are your edges basically helping you get like clarity in your forms? Here, I can actually do a demonstration. Give me a second. I'm like real focused on this guy's buck tooth. Woo-hoo. So it looks like he's dead. Gotta get some deep cuts in here. Um, hold on. Get some good planes going on in here too. Alright, so I'll show you just real fast. I have Photoshop open. So if you're paint, this is usually what happens. People paint like this, and then they'll be like, all right, I'm gonna try to get my edges clean. All right, so they have like an edge like that, which is all feathery, right? And then they try to clean it, and they clean it the same way that they drew it, which is feathery. And then they're like, oh crap, nah, I need to re-get that shape. And then you do it again, and then you go back and forth and back and forth. When you should have just done this, where either draw the shape the way that it needed to be, and then when you clean up the shape, clean it up with broad strokes, right? And then, for instance, if you want a soft edge, have a way to get that soft edge, whether you're using smudge tool, which I use all the time, right? Or use an airbrush with some control too. Try to avoid the feathery approach and try to do broad strokes. So that way you have control of your edges, and it's done faster. Hopefully that helps you out, bud. All right, I'm gonna now do some 3D coat testing madness.
Our next question is kind of long. It says, hey guys, I have a question about the industry and concept art. I've recently got my first job as a games artist out of university. I'm very uncomfortable working straight into shapes and silhouettes, but for vehicles and hard surface I seem to struggle with the line art. Is it unheard of to fully concept hard surface things in high detail without using lines? Do art directors seek out people with solid line art skills for this reason, or is it really the final product that matters?
It's just the final product that matters. There's no. It doesn't matter whether you use line art or you Photoshop. It's just like, what does the final image look like? If it looks awesome, then it's awesome. One of my good friends, Daniel Chavez, does a lot of really great drawings in line art. Paul Richards does a lot of good things in line art. And that's all they. That's how they draw. That's how they design. But then in other instances, I have friends who use photo bashing or 3D. So again, to answer your question, it's really just you have to have really good um, you just have to have really good quality work. That's really all you should focus on. You shouldn't focus on the technique as much. The only reason why you should focus on the technique is because you feel just because that's how you're going to do it. That's how you're going to execute. So let's say you want to be a better photo basher or a 3D dude, then you better learn 3D and learn photo bashing. You got to learn these tools. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you use as long as it's good. And also if you do it really at a timely manner. Because sometimes some people like try to do things and they don't have it in a timely manner. Like they can take some days or months even to try to get something done. That's not good. That's not concepting. You're not just developing whatever it is. You're just creating production stuff. And so I think it doesn't matter if you use lines or you photo bash or you use 3D. It just all that matters is like, is it good? Is it good? And whatever tools, whatever techniques you did to get there, make sure you feel comfortable doing them.
Next question says, what would your cliff notes be on your choice to use 3D Coat over ZBrush?
It just does everything in a lot of ways better. I mean, even like I was doing some research because I was looking into the auto topologizing, and I wasn't sure if like the ZBrush was actually better, and I discovered that although ZBrush is better in terms of a certain aptitude, I went and did some research, and I actually had a dream about it. I learned 3D Coat's auto remesher is actually pretty good too, and I learned that actually 3D Coat had it first. In fact, 3D Coat had a lot of these things first, and it seems like everybody's just emulating it. The only thing that I think 3D Coat did not have first, from what I saw, was the new PBR stuff, like the physical base rendering stuff. That stuff has just recently been coming out with all these different softwares, and Substance Painter is one of the biggest ones. That's like a really good king of this. But for me, yeah, there's no contest for sure. This is pretty good. But see, here I'm testing some things that I think are really challenging 3D Coat. I'm already seeing it's being challenged quite a bit, but it's actually moving along, so it's fine. I was challenging it in a different way the other day or earlier today, and it just took forever. Other day, like it just was like taking way longer. Like I didn't see this little green bar moving, and then I would wait like 15 minutes, and then it would be done. This looks like it's going to be done like in the next few minutes, which should be reasonable for what I'm asking it to do. We'll see how it ends up. Maybe it's going to be garbage because of like all those little tentacle things. I haven't tried this before, but this is what I wanted to do. I just wanted to see. But the sculpting is just as good as ZBrush, if not better, because you can actually have voxel-based sculpting, which is really intuitive and feels like clay. So if you don't care about topology and stuff like that, like if you're going to render stuff out in Keyshot, you can. You can even unwrap it and do all that stuff here in the software and paint on top of it and do all that stuff and export all that stuff out into Keyshot or some sort of external renderer, and it should be fine. You don't need to worry about topology.
So we're at a 30-minute mark if you want to keep going.
Yeah, I'll answer a few more questions. Let's wait for this to be done. Here, let me text the person. I have a meeting. at 2, guys. So let me just text the person, see if they're good to go. Maybe they're not.
I think we have some.
Good to go. Do you have a question?
Oh, no.
How do you get your voice to be so velvety?
Party City?
Born? Be born. Be born. And have velvety voice. We're 85%, guys.
Anthony, I just want to say you're a big inspiration. Keep doing what you're doing.
Walmart.
Thank you. Wait, is your mic muted or unmuted? Talk.
I'm muting it and then
I
I'm
see.
muting it.
You're walking, talking.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
look
an
at this.
echo, so.
This is not so bad at all. The apology is almost perfect. Wow. Okay. Let's go ahead and save this bad boy.
Yeah, there's one by my
So you can see all the tests that I've done. I've done quite a bit. So what is this?
Next
Head.
question says, are you ready?
Yeah, hold on, let me explain what's going on here. So for those of you who may not know the pipeline, I'll explain it after. Go ahead, John.
Says, are there any particular days of the week and hours when you're going to stream on Twitch?
No, we're still deciding that. I'm trying to do at least once a week. That's like the minimum that I need to do. But my goal is to do it every day for at least about an hour or half an hour to an hour maximum. All right, that's it. So that way I can do them often and then do them consistently and then just be showing you guys what I'm up to. And it won't always be me though too. That's a beautiful thing. We like talked with Mache about this. Like Mache will do one on a day that I won't be doing one, or Ash or whoever we have could do one, and we'll just kind of invite friends and we'll do maybe talk show type stuff. But the whole idea is just we're just gonna try to do it small bites at first, and then that way it's reasonable. All right, so now we go back to the retopo. We go to bake, and here's the magic. You can go like this and that, and then you can have it automatically unwrap, do all this stuff, and then just let it work. And this is obviously, it goes much faster because this is where like 3D Code's power comes from, is its painting tools. And then bam, it should be done and did. So if I go here and I hide the surface, and so there it is. Wow, that's pretty great. There's always some hiccups here and there, like especially with the ambient occlusion. There's some weird stuff that's going on with that. Not sure why it gets all weirdy. But even if I didn't like this ambient occlusion, I can actually bake another ambient occlusion. So I can name this ambient occlusion 1, and then I can just do another bake of the ambient occlusion. And it just gives me another one that's a little bit more based off of like a spherical light. So we'll put like shadows underneath his head and stuff like that, which will be nice. So it's going to be a little bit different, but it's doing basically the same thing, you know? But it's putting shadows like underneath the tentacles and stuff like that. And I think one of these is like a gloss pass too. So, and here's the beautiful thing about all this stuff is that it's all low poly, so it looks like high definition, but it really isn't. And then you can have something like this, and we can go here and lower the opacity on this as well, and it's going to do the same thing. And what I do is I'll make a new layer. Where's my pen? Oh, here we go. I hate when I put it in the wrong way. I put it in my pocket, so it's like stuff like that.
That's what she said.
Oh boy. You
Sorry.
think you're clever.
All right, next question.
So,
You ready? No.
well, how many questions do we have?
There's a few. I'm trying to
Okay,
get through.
so I'm gonna explain a few things, and I'll just lightly around. But like, so now I'm painting in like like the stuff that you would do normally in ZBrush would be like get details like this. But the reality is like, why not just paint it in or sculpt it in the normal maps, right? Because it's better that way. That way you can actually see what it's going to potentially look like in your 3D engine. And this is exactly what's happening. This is what's going to actually potentially look like in the 3D engine, you know? And so I can get all these like little like wrinkles of the skin and all that stuff and sculpt them onto their own layer. But here's the thing, it's like it's not really sculpt. It's like if anyone knows anything about normal maps, like this is not what it is. It's actually It's actually just like a texture.